There's also some reverb here, which I am using Valhalla room reverb, which is incredible. In general, I tend to use as few instances of reverb as I possibly can per project, mainly because it stops me from adding too much reverb to a song. And secondly, it's actually just a lot easier on the ears if you just have one acoustic in a track, rather than trying to stack loads of different acoustics in and mash them together into a mix. It's kind of just doesn't really work like that, especially with instruments and samples that already have reverb on them and already sound like they've been recorded in a space. So I guess the only reason why I would add reverb at all to any of the samples from East West, especially the string samples, is just for an effect as opposed to a mixed choice. So this is obviously I wanted it to be sound like it's in a massive space and the melody elongates, so I've added quite a lot of reverb. It sounds completely different with the reverb on. Valhalla Room reverb is something I picked up quite recently. I think it's about a year old now. I bought it just before I finished my last album, so that would be about a year. Because I realised just as I was mixing down my last Futurist album, like all of the reverb just sounded really fake, and I was like, I need to fix this problem. How much is this plugin? Oh, €23. Okay, that's probably quite worth the investment. So I went through and remixed all of my album tunes using this reverb plugin instead of Cubase's own, except on my snare drums, oddly, because this one only goes, the only drawback of this plugin that it only goes up to 15,000 hertz, whereas the Cubase standard one goes all the way up to 20,000. And when you're remixing, when you're doing drum and bass, you really want a crisp high end on your snare drums, so that's the only exception. But yeah, this reverb plugin has one of the longest kind of tails of any plugin that I've seen as well, and it's really rich and on its own sounds great, and it's got loads of good presets as well. They've got loads of different subcategories, and each preset is very different, which is useful. So some of them can be quite inspiring as well. There's this preset called Vocal Short Slap Room, which sounds odd, but actually is like you're standing in a telephone box, and it's like really bizarre if you're on headphones, listen to it. It's just kind of like how inspiring how creative you can be just with a reverb plugin, and it really can change sounds. And it leads you to different places in your song, which is really useful, basically. The other things that are useful, like the Valhalla is useful, is actually for bass, because it's got a really, really nice stereo image naturally. And if you just add a tiny bit into a bass sound, it can really add to the wideness and warmth to the sound.